when you have a prospect, a client, or a customer in your store, and you don't invite them to take home whatever it is that they're interested in, if you don't ask for that sale, they might walk out of your store feeling unsatisfied, which of course is not your intent. It is absolutely crucial that when somebody expresses some interest in something, that you make it really easy for them to take the next step and purchase it.
Running a creative retail business really shouldn't be so hard. I'm Wendy Batten, and this is the Creative Shop Talk podcast. Hey, friends, and welcome to the Creative Shop Talk podcast. Today, I have a special guest for you. Let me ask you before I tell you who's on here today about sales. Do you ever feel icky making that sale at the end of the day? We're retailers. We're supposed to be in the business of selling, but we're also heart-centered, caring creatives and a lot of introverts amongst the group here. And I get an amen. But I also feel that, it's really important to develop those sales skills. That is the business we are in. So we love our products. We love, our customers. We love things in our store. But some of us, some retailers I work with, they lack the skills to close the deal, as they say, or make the sale at the end of the day. And just are uncomfortable doing it, maybe uncomfortable suggestive selling or bundling or upselling, as they say. And today I'm interviewing Nikki Rausch, and she is also known as the sales maven. She's so authentic and so skilled. She's amazing at sales conversations. She thrives and she just is so good at teaching us how to do the sales conversation without feeling icky, to do it with ease and grace and come from a place of service. So I'm so excited to interview her today, and our conversation was amazing. I learned new things about selling. I'm sure you will learn new things about comfortably selling to your customers, feeling good about it, having confidence. At the end of the day, that's why we're in business. And her approach and the tips and strategies that she shares and the ideas that she shares in the interview are going to help you with that awkward feeling of selling. Going to be a little more confident at the end of the day. It was such a pleasure to have her here and to tap into her sales genius. So I want you to also listen to the end, because Nikki is going to be sharing a great resource with us. So listen up, pick up your paintbrush, grab a coffee, turn up the volume, whatever you need to do, get comfortable. I hope you enjoy this interview. Again, it's with Nikki Rausch, who's the sales maven. I'm so flattered to have Nikki Rausch on my podcast today. I am super fangirling. I told you as we were chatting a little bit before about how your values are very similar to how we speak and inside all of my groups and how I coach as far as sales. So we're going to be talking about sales today. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I actually stole this from a friend of mine, Mindy Toden. And I always start the podcast by asking guests something that other people might not know about you. If you want to share one tiny thing, maybe that somebody else might not know.
Well, and I think this might relate to your audience specifically. Most people do not know that I was raised in a family where my dad and my grandfather owned a very small tool store. And so I've been working at the age of 10, I started working in the tool store. So I understand the retail side of the business and people walking in and are you earning that business? So that's something most people don't know about me.
Oh, wonderful. That's exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up becoming the sales maven?
So out of college, I got my first professional sales job, and that became my career. I was a professional sales rep for 17 years and selling technology, and had a lot of success there. While selling technology, I started studying neuro-linguistic programming. If that's a new term to anybody, it's really the study of communication. I started studying it with the idea that it would make me better at sales, and it definitely helped me with my communication style, and it really improved just my ability to communicate and my ability to connect with people and deepen my relationships. And so after doing that for a long time, I was helping my NLP teacher at one point kind of grow her business. And that's when I started spending time around entrepreneurs and finding out that they really oftentimes struggle with the sales conversation. And my business was born out of some conversations with some of them, helping them just kind of on the side, like meeting these really cool people and just wanting to help them find some success around sales. And somebody pulled me aside one day and was like, "Why aren't you teaching this stuff to other people? Like, why is this not your business?" And at the time, I thought it was the craziest idea I'd ever heard, but I made a promise to her that I would give it a try. And I did. And here I am coming up on not quite 8 years in business and having the time of my life, loving being able to teach people the conversation of sales and how to have a structure to it so it becomes so much easier for you but also for the client.
Yeah, you do it so well too. And it is such a struggle for retailers. So a lot of people they open their retail business, they want to sell things. And so
Yeah.
my retailers that I work with in our audience here, the majority of them are creatives or hobbyists turned accidental entrepreneurs. They have these beautiful stores, beautiful products. They want to share their heart, their creativity, and we do really great things until it comes to selling. And that conversation is like, it makes people sweaty when I talk to them about it. It's like, but we're in the business to sell. That's what the business is. That, I mean, we have to sell our products to make a living. So one thing that I've been very intrigued in, I hope that you can touch on a little bit with us, is it's NLP, right? That's the initials?
Yep. Yep.
And really, can I simplify that just for our audience? That is the study body language. Is that a good way of putting part of
That's
that?
one
Is that
piece
part
of
of
it
it?
for
That's one piece
sure.
of it,
Yep,
right?
one piece of it for sure.
And I think a lot of retailers get stuck on understanding body language. Could you speak a little bit to maybe when they're trying to make the sales? So it is trying to read customers. I mean,
I love
yeah,
to talk body language, so relevant in that type of a sales situation. Now, I know that people are going to be listening to this, but you are recording a video, so I might show some things that
absolutely.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll explain what I'm doing, but for people if they get to go watch the video, they'll be able to see some of this piece of it. So from my background in neuro-linguistic programming, there's something that's known as psychogeography, which sounds like a crazy scientific term,
Very
but
heavy.
really it has to do with this idea that there is a connection and a relationship, like an energy exchange that happens when you are like standing face to face with somebody and or standing in proximity to somebody. And so when you want to start to create relationship, one of the things that oftentimes helps is adjusting your body language a little bit so that we're not like face to face standing because sometimes that creates this like I'm over here, you're over there, that's your side, this is my side. And somehow it can sometimes become a little bit maybe confrontational is an extreme word for it, but it just feels like you're trying to do something to me and I'm not sure if I'm ready for it. So when you have a client or somebody who comes into the retail shop, one of the things you want to do is when you're showing them something, you want to start to angle your body so you create this idea that we're on the same side. So sometimes that's pushing your shoulder back or pushing your hips back a little bit. And if you're standing, then you start to stand like you're standing to the side of them so that it starts to create like you and I are on the same side. The product that we're looking at is outside of us and our relationship. So now we can sit there and chat as friends. By the way, just to give some context to this is why oftentimes those people who have teenagers, they often will say, like, some of our best, deepest conversations come when we're in the car. And the reason that is from a NLP background is because you're facing the same way. You're not facing each other. And so it starts to create this like connection, like, oh, we're in this together. And now we're talking about this thing. Could be your, whatever the topic is with your teenager, or it could be the product that you're showing. So you do want to start to angle your body versus always trying to stand straight on. Now, the only little caveat that I'll give to that is take your cues from your client. So if the person, as you adjust your body, if they then adjust back and they really do want to be face to face, then stay face to face with them. But otherwise, learn how to start, just push your shoulder back a little bit, push your hips back a little bit, start to angle your head to look at whatever it is that you're talking about. So you don't always have to be in this like really direct eye contact too.
That's amazing advice. Yeah, it is so
Okay.
true. You want to be on the same level. I love that. Or not level, but same comfort. Yeah, that's
And
wonderful.
level too. That's a
Yeah.
really good point that you just made. So if you're sitting down and they're standing up, that can create a disconnect. So when you're talking with a client, you definitely want to stand, or if they're, if they're scrunched down looking at something at the bottom shelf, right? Like you may want to kind of come down to that level to create that same level too. That will also impact the psychogeography and the way the connection happens.
Yeah, there's so many things. I've had the privilege of hearing a lot of your podcasts, and of course we'll share your podcast information and everything with everybody. So because there's too many things to ask you about that. We could probably do a whole podcast on that part alone, on body language and NLP. And I really, I just think it's fascinating. One of the things that I ask my retailers prior to bringing you on, what are the top questions? And one of the things my retailers that consistently hear is, we get people interested in our products. We have them in the store. We've built a relationship. I think that we need to have people know, like, and trust us. And that
Mhm.
starts with social media and the whole thing.
For sure.
The thing that they get stuck on is making the sale, closing the
Yeah.
deal. Do you have any words of advice or help where we can just get them over that fear of asking for the sale?
Okay. So
I know
there's
it's heavy. That's big, right? Yeah.
Well, I have a lot to say about it, so you're gonna have to just interrupt me if I'm like go off on a tangent here
Go
a
for it.
little.
Go for it. We're all
Okay.
ears.
Okay. So first and foremost, it's really important that as the seller that you realize that people walk around and they tell stories to themselves all the time about what's going on. We think everything that happens is because of us, to us, or for us, right? And so when you have a prospect, a client, or a customer in your store, and you don't invite them to take home whatever it is that they're interested in, if you don't ask for that sale, they might walk out of your store feeling unsatisfied, which of course is not your intent. You don't want people to walk out of your store feeling like, oh, she doesn't want my business, or make up some crazy story like she doesn't think I can afford that, which of course none of these things are true. And so this is one reason why it is absolutely crucial that when somebody expresses some interest in something, that you make it really easy for them to take the next step and purchase it. Okay. So they feel satisfied because you're selling to adults primarily. They're making decisions, right? They can say yes or no. And then the kind of the second piece that I would add to this is that when you are closing the sale, when you're asking or issuing, I call it issuing an invitation, you have to ask a yes or no question in this moment, because most of the people who are coming into your retail location are like the rest of us and they have decision fatigue. We are overwhelmed with decisions all day, every day. And if you don't put a decision in front of them, a really simple yes or no question, like, is this something you'd like to take home today? Or is this something I can ring up for you? If you don't ask them a simple question like that, oftentimes our lazy brains who are sick of making decisions will not make a decision. And then they'll leave the store having not decided to buy or not buy. And oftentimes they may never come back, not because they don't want it, not because they won't benefit from it, but because they're now bombarded with a million other decisions to make as soon as they walk out of your store. So it's really important that when somebody expresses interest that you issue the invitation, and it can be really light, it can be soft, but it has to come out of your mouth. And so something as simple as, if they're like, wow, that's really beautiful, or, oh, I have a perfect spot in my home for that, that you say, oh, great, is that something I can put up at the register for you? Or is that something that I could wrap up for you today? Any kind of like yes, no question here is so crucial.
That's great advice. So it's so true. And I want to add that I think decision fatigue right now with where we are as we're recording this. I don't even want to say post pandemic because I don't even know. Like it's just this crazy time for retailers
Yeah.
that we're in right now. And everybody, so customers and retailers are both making decisions. Like it's a decision to get in your car now, remember to bring your mask or whatever that might be in your
Yes.
situation. Everything is like decision fatigue is so real. And thank you for bringing that up because it's something that I think we don't think of it again. Where you just said the customers are thinking about, all it's happening to them. That's how I feel like retailers feel as well too.
Mhm.
They're afraid to make that invitation. They're afraid to say, "Can I bring that up to the counter?" Because they don't want to come across as pushy. Am I? And it's all about them at that point, right? So I
Mhm.
think I quite regularly remind my retailers that it's a service to their customers to serve them what they want. So that's exactly what you're doing. You're serving them one less decision to make. You're helping them with
Yeah.
one less decision. And one thing that we talk about inside my groups and here on the podcast is being confident in your product. Obviously, we're super confident in what we're selling, super confident in the value of what we're offering in our services. And again, a lot of our retailers call themselves paintpreneurs. So a lot of my retailers listening are teaching about colors and paint. And I've regularly said recently, especially, that it's important if somebody says I can't make a decision on color to just make it for them. And is it
Oh my
like
gosh, yes.
right? So, and I mean, even if they're looking at jewelry or whatever, they want you as the expert. They want us to just tell them what to do. I feel that way. I don't know. Is
I
that something in
totally
your yeah,
agree.
okay.
Yeah, I
I,
totally agree with this. I think when we walk into a place of business and we're about to spend our hard-earned dollars, we want to deal with experts and we want to deal with people who are credible. There's nothing better for me as a consumer to walk into a place and have somebody say, my recommendation would be this. Now, and I do this all the time, just even if I went to a restaurant, like one of the first questions I'll ask the person, the waitress or the waiter is like, what would you recommend? Because they know, right? And I don't know if I've never been there before. Now, it doesn't mean I'll always take their recommendation, but boy, do I appreciate a recommendation. So never be afraid to stand in your place of credibility and authority and recommend. And if somebody's like, I can't decide, then pick for them. We just this is kind of a off story, but we just moved and we had our house painted, the house that we lived in, because it was getting ready to get on the market. And we were struggling to make the decision as to what color to paint it. And the painter came over and we were kind of hemming and hawing. And he said, my recommendation is this. And he recommended the color. And we were like, thank you so much. Thank you so much for recommending what color to paint the house because we're not paint experts. We didn't know. And it turned out gorgeous. And we're so happy that he was the person that would stand in that place of authority and credibility and say, my recommendation is this.
I think that's brilliant, and that's a great way to look at it. So, on that same vein, one of the things that's happening is right is a little bit less foot traffic. Still, still busy. So retailers are still doing well in our niche, but the less amount of people means I'm coaching them that we need to increase our sales per transaction. I want to upsell, I want to bundle, I
Yeah.
want to suggest sell, and it makes so many retailers uncomfortable when I say this. But I think coming from a place of service and recommendations, it's helpful to your clients. Again, coming from a place of service. Do you have any tips on how to suggest sell? I call it suggest sell. I know there's all kinds of different terms in the retail industry.
Yeah, being able to offer like the additional products or additional thing that is a real it's being incredibly helpful to the person who's standing there who might feel overwhelmed with decisions, or the person who is feeling a little insecure about making a decision, or just wants to do, like, we all want to do it right, like we just want to do it right. And so please be offering these other opportunities. So if somebody comes in and they're choosing a paint color, it's absolutely in your best interest, but frankly, more importantly, in their best interest for you to say, now, oftentimes when people are buying paint, they also need paintbrushes and this and this and this. Are those things that I could collect for you and put at the front counter? Just ask the question. they're probably going to be like, oh my gosh, thank you. I totally forgot that I needed a paintbrush, right? Or I never would have thought about this other thing that you're recommending. Because they may not know what the other products are. Like sometimes we don't know what to ask for as the consumer.
Right.
Your job is to make it really easy for me to say, I'll take this, this, and this. And maybe you gave me 5 options and I pick 3. Well, it's better for your business because now you have a larger sale. But more importantly, it's so much better for the customer because now they have what they really need to get the job done or to accomplish what it is that they want to accomplish, what brought them into the store today. So please be offering these upsells. And don't be afraid to set some things up at the counter for people and say, hey, just in case you need any of these things, I pulled them for you. Or if you're have a retail location and they're, like jewelry, right? Like I noticed that you pulled this really beautiful set of earrings, and I don't know if you're interested, but there's a really beautiful bracelet that would pair nicely with that. So I pulled that and I pulled a necklace and gave you a couple options here in case this is something you'd like to take a look at. And people are going to be like, thank you. They're not going to go, oh, how dare you try to sell me something
Right.
extra. They're going to be like, thank you so much for making it really easy for me because especially if you have a wide variety to choose from, again, sometimes too many choices, it causes decision fatigue again. So when you can pull like, here's, 3 things that complement, it's easy for them to go, great, I'll take all 3.
Yeah, I think that's great. We also, with the holidays coming, I think it's really important to ask them who else are you buying for, or if they're in to buy a gift, or again, make it easy. And it does come naturally for so many of my retailers as far as being of service, but they don't want to close that sale. Back to the original, when we first started talking. So I love how you're framing that for them to think, you're helping them with decision fatigue, because it really is. They are going to thank you. They're never going to say, "How dare you?" I love that. So another thing that retailers, I feel like I want to just ask you a million questions tonight.
I
But
love questions.
so
So
another really big shift for a lot of retailers through this crazy season has been doing virtual sales, online sales, Facebook Live sales. I'm not just e-commerce. This isn't just e-commerce. I do have retailers that have e-commerce sites. I'm on a Facebook post. I'm trying to get people to buy my virtual workshops because workshops have taken a big shift. I'm trying to show them a store tour so they don't have to leave their houses. So I can't, do curbside. We can do curbside pickup or Facebook Live sales, like want to buy this right now. And we're doing, and this
mhm.
has become a huge movement with a lot of my retailers. They have built audiences, and it's almost like I have retailers now that are saying, they're the Tuesday night Susie show, like other people are coming to their watching. Do you have any advice for them on closing the sales when they're live? It's a lot harder when it's just you and your computer to bring the conversation. I'm the kind of person that I'm pretty good with body language. I can understand when people are genuinely interested, and build relationships when they're in front of me. It's so much harder on video or when I'm talking to my computer
Mhm.
without reaction back, because I can see you right now. But if I was just selling to a little yellow green dot or whatever on my phone, do you have any words of, or suggestions on how they can ease into selling and getting the sales while they're and doing that invitation while they're on their Facebook Live sales?
So one of the most important things, and this works whether you're doing a Facebook Live, whether you're doing a webinar, whatever it is that you're doing, it has to do with pre-framing at the beginning of the event or the video or whatever it is that you're doing. You're going to pre-frame for somebody that there's going to be an opportunity for them to make a purchase. So, when you start, let's say you're starting and you're talking about a certain product, you're going to say at the beginning, like, the purpose of this video is to share with you this exciting new product. And I'm going to have a special offer for you at the end. So stick around because this product's going to go soon. And many of you are going to want this. And I'm going to tell you how to get it. Okay, let me show you or demonstrate the product, right? And now you get into the crux of the like content. And then you've made a promise basically at the beginning that there's going to be an opportunity to buy. So you've primed people for, oh, there's going to be an opportunity. So I know that I'm going to be able to buy, and I'm going to be able to buy now. And there's a couple things that I did in there. I said I pre-framed what's this is known as an embedded command. Many of you are going to want this. I'm just like, it's like planting this seed. Now, again, it's not going to work for everybody, but it will work because people are like, "Ooh, I probably am going to want that. She's right." So I'm going to stick around. I'm going to figure out how to get it. And then when you get to this place of now you've told them like, "Here's how to buy," right? So okay, so here's the product, here's the demonstrate. And I mentioned at the beginning that there's a special offer of how you guys can get this right now. Right now is also an embedded command. So it's saying to somebody like, do this now in a nice way. And then you have to be really clear, and it has to be super easy for them to take the action. So it's a short bit.ly link, or it's some way that they can just click this link that's in the comments. You tell them where it is, go make this purchase now. We do have a limited supply. We know it's going to sell out. So these are some other like, now again, only say things that are true, but really hype the product, like make it exciting for people. Because even if there's a part of you that feels nervous about selling it, we want to buy from experts. We want to buy really cool products. We want to have things that are like going to change our lives and are going to make a difference in our life, or that we're going to really enjoy. So make sure that you also are letting a lot of excitement come through your voice when you're talking about the purchase part of it. Like, okay, so here's how to get it. Here's how to get it now. Click this link, and you're doing the little like below, click below. It's going to be really easy for you to get this. And again, we have a limited supply, so we want to make sure that if for those of you who know you want this, this is the time to get it. We might not get it again, and if we do, it's going to be a while. Right? So you just say things that are true, but make sure you get them out of your mouth, because if you're just like, if you want to buy it, go ahead. People are going to be like, well, that doesn't sound very fun or exciting.
so so right now, I promise you right now, there are retailers that have just used the like go back button because they want to listen to what those words that you just said. They're listening to the podcast and they're like, ooh, I got to pause that and go back to that because that's so good. And I say that because when you said after, like, oh, just buy, that's how a lot of retailers sort of come across. We talk a lot about doing in-store demonstrations to show products, because DIY products, or or even, I don't know, jewelry or scarves or whatever we're selling, sometimes they take imagination, like or people are fearful, they hold back. Again, back to this, we're the expert, so we bring in these new cool products, and I encourage my retailers all the time to do demos. It used to be in-store demos, it's not so much now. So they
Yeah.
are all doing these demos online. And so I love, love, love how you said that. And those words are great. Like, many of you are going to want this because it's true. And they are
Yeah.
excited about teaching those products. And they are like, most of the time retailers get these new products in, and they've gotten them in because they know their customers, and they know, oh my gosh, like they're going to love this. And then yet we fall flat when it comes to saying, come and get it, right? Like, come and get it.
Yeah.
Like, we want you to do it. And I also want to urge everybody to just go back, go back, but listen to the words that she said about making it easy to buy. That is so critical as well. Don't make it complicated for them. I mean, if it's got to be easy to buy, put a comment below and we'll be in touch. Or if you don't have a website, whatever it is that you need to do, that's key. But it's such great advice about that. So so I'm like, again, I could keep you all day, and I know I value your time, and that you're here with us. Do you have any other advice, knowing my audience and knowing what type of products and sort of that they hold back on, that you'd like to offer or share?
Well, I will say the piece of advice here is that most people will not make a decision to make a purchase until you issue that invitation, until you get the words out of your mouth. And so this is why, like, if you get nothing else from this podcast episode from me, this idea of like getting the words out of your mouth in whatever form you can. If you don't issue the invitation, most people will not make a decision to buy, and they will leave feeling unsatisfied with their interaction with you. And I know that those of you who went into business and opened a retail store, you did it because you had a passion for it. You wanted to help other people who have a passion for it. So you really are obligated to issue those invitations so that people feel, we talk about creating know, like, and trust, but it's also really important that we start to create this, like, I would like to earn your business and you are a valuable person to me. And therefore, I would like for you to be a customer. And we have to make sure that that message comes across over and over again when people come into our stores.
That's brilliant. And especially right now, I feel like people are getting tighter with their money and they are looking for connection. I think that's really important right now. And I do think that small independent retailers right now can position themselves to have the trust of the people. So if they trust you and you invite them to buy things, they're going to buy from you. This is pretty much what we're summing up here.
Yes.
And because they, again, my retailers are really confident in their product. They're not selling widgets; they're selling really cool things. They're really selling creative, beautiful items. And again, they've gone into business to be, to be profitable and to have these relationships with customers. So that step includes selling. So I appreciate you being here so much. So one more thing before we wrap up, because again, I appreciate your time so much. I love to wrap up by asking all my guests, like, what's a piece of advice that someone's given you, or a favorite mantra or a quote or something that gets you through and that you love and that you'd love to share with my audience?
Well, okay. I feel like I have a lot to say to that, but I
Okay.
have so many,
I
I have
love
so
that.
many
I love
answers to
that.
it.
Well, go for
Um,
it.
I will say, and this is based on a philosophy that I teach. This is my favorite quote of all time, which is "Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape." I am committed to teaching people how to be more flexible. So even the times where you feel like, this feels a little outside of my comfort zone, if you're willing to be flexible and put the other person at ease, you will often find that it is absolutely easy to earn people's business.
That is a wonderful, wonderful piece of advice. I just love that. So, because flexibility right now is super important
Yeah.
as we go through actually being a business owner in itself. So that's fantastic. How can my listeners and viewers, how can they get a hold of you? And I know you have a gift for them, not a gift for them, but you have a product that we can get from you. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have an ebook. It's called Closing the Sale. It's
Love it.
all around simple strategies for increasing your confidence in the closing. And you can get that by going to my website, which is Your Sales Maven. It's Maven.com/CST. And then you'll be on the website. You're welcome to reach out and connect with me. If I can be of service in some way, please, I'd love to hear what your takeaway was from the podcast episode. And if there's some way I can support you to grow your business, I would be honored.
That's fantastic, Nikki. And we will have all the links to get a hold of Nikki and her lovely ebook. It's amazing, on the podcast show notes as well too. So thank you so much, Nikki. I really appreciate you being here with us and sharing all your wisdom. And I'm encouraging everybody to go listen to your podcast as well too. And I just think that it's amazing. We'll have all those links for everybody, and just grow your confidence. I think retailers we just need to be more confident in our ability, I guess, to sell. So it's important. So thanks so much, Nikki. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining me today. I know how precious your time is, and I'm so appreciate you taking time out of your crazy day to be here with us. All the links for today's show can be found at wendybatten.com/podcast. We'd also like to invite you to come over and continue the conversation over on my free Facebook group. It's called Rockstar Creatives. I'm going to be popping in there live every week to continue the conversation, talk a little bit about what we spoke about today. And I'd love for you to join us over there, Rockstar Creatives on Facebook. I'd also love to ask, if it's not too much trouble, if you could leave me a review and let me know what you think of the podcast. If you're loving the show, be sure that you're subscribing to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. I'd hate for you to miss one. It's been such a pleasure to be here with you today. I'll see you next week here on the Creative Shop Talk podcast.